Q&A done. That was perfectly good.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not prepared.
Don't
you know why?
Apologize.
Because they said the questions, and they started to basically like tell me what I was going to be. Like the questions had so much to do and informed with the experience of what the movie was going to be. There were questions that, yeah, there's a lot of spoilers and stuff like that. And so I was like, oh, fuck that. And I'll just remember what to ask, but I don't. Okay, well, Olivia, that was so good. Penelope, you were so wonderful. God, I'm gonna try to improvise this as much as I can. Because I take my time, process, unplug my ears at least. I'm so proud of you. It's seamless. I have comments and then I have questions, okay? It's a very seamless experience, I think, for all of us. I don't remember the last time that I was in an audience that was completely packed, that was just bursting with laughter. So that's a very moving thing to begin with.
I was watching it for the first time with an audience, and I'm really like making a huge effort not to be crying right now, but maybe we should all just cry.
It's good for the cortisol, remember? Yeah.
I was so happy that you were there and that you were hearing that, you know? Because, I mean, to be a part of what is our experience, but also even not being in it and having the experience just felt really, really special. And it's a four-hander, and you barely leave the apartment. And who's not gonna get sick of them? You know what I mean? Like, who's not gonna get sick of this? And it's just the opposite. So bravo, Jesus fucking Christ. I was wearing a blue outfit.
Oh yeah, you were in a blue outfit. You were great in that blue outfit.
Thank you very much. No, it's devastating. I'm not in it. But I would replace Edward Norton for anything in the world in this movie. So it's perfect, actually. It's originally a Spanish film. So I'd like to ask, and also there are changes in the script, like big ones.
Yeah.
And which I think are insane. And I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about what the process of adaptation was, or like how did this happen?
How did this happen?
Yeah.
Perfect question. Well, so yes, the original film in Spain was called Sentimental. Sí. And in America, it was The People Upstairs, and written and directed by a guy named Chesky, or Seske, and he did the play. He wrote it as a play, directed as a play, and he adapted his own play to a film. And that film got adapted into French, German, Korean, Italian, and then Rashida and Will adapted it into an English version. And when it came to me, I thought, what story is so universally interesting that it's been made this many times? There must be something really good here. And sure enough, it turns out relationships are difficult in every language. They are impossible, and yet we try. And it really made me laugh, and it really felt very personally relevant. And I thought, wait a minute, this is an opportunity to gather some amazing actors and have an experience that I've always dreamt of, which is make a movie like a play. Get together, the way Sidney Lumet made 12 Angry Men, have 2 weeks of rehearsal, and then shoot this thing in one location in order, on 35 millimeter. And so that was the dream. But you know, we all have dreams, and in this town, very few of them come true, really. involved so many kind of unusual, specific experiences, then, it took on a life of its own because we brought together this incredible group of people, and with Will and Rashida, we spent those 2 weeks, which we didn't even have a full 2 weeks, but we spent this chunk of days sitting around a table, workshopping the script, and really just personalizing it, because if it's already an adaptation, you might as well adapt it to the specific group.
Yes, which is interesting because I know, maybe you don't want anyone to know, but I'll be as honest as the character I didn't get to play. I know that you were trying to cast your role.
Yes.
And you weren't, like, looking to play it.
No.
And there were unavailabilities and all kinds of shit, and so to make sure that this dream happens, you stepped into playing the part because other people weren't available.
Other people weren't available. Also, the cast
How did it all come together? The
encouraged
cast?
me to do it.
So it was so Penelope, Edward, and Seth were in place.
Yes.
I gotcha.
They were in place, and we all started talking, and we were getting excited about how everyone was adapting the character to their specific interpretation. I mean, Pina wasn't Pina, and was nothing like that. Nothing like that. Same with Hawk, same with Joe. They are the creations of this collaboration between our writers and our cast. But we had started the process, and then we didn't have an Angela, and they said, Olivia, you should just do it, and I was terrified, but they told me I could, so I tried, and I'm really happy I did. But it was a process unlike anything I've ever experienced, because every idea was welcome, best idea won. We took huge leaps in terms of the plot, and everyone was bringing such great, bold ideas every day.
No. Que raro hablarte en inglés.
Lo sé, amigo, pero yo creo que
Okay, I have to speak to you in English.
it's strange for us. It's other in English.
So it is very different. I've seen the original Spanish movie, and I started to wonder how the process of adaptation was related to each individual actor, because the authorship felt so unique as it relates to the person playing the part, and so Penelope, was it through the process of rehearsal, or how did you discover? I don't know, how to talk about the approach and how you molded this incredible character.
So it's one of those times in life when what you feel is gonna happen when you read a script then actually happens, because the energy of this place tonight, I remember like if it was yesterday, the moment I read the script and I could not stop laughing, and then I spoke to Olivia and I had this feeling that sometimes in our industry or sometimes in the world we tend to underestimate the genre of comedy. But I don't feel like I've ever done that, but I think it's something that it still happens, and it makes me very sad because I feel it's such a delicate, difficult genre, and it's so hard to find a script that is funny and is smart and is deep and it can make you laugh like crazy, but it can touch your heart and it can make you ask yourself the right uncomfortable questions. So I knew, I read it, and I said to my manager, yeah, tomorrow morning, let's talk. I just want to say yes. I don't have anything to think about, because I already knew Olivia from here and there, but I also loved her work as an actress and as a director. And we spoke. I agree with what you said, Pedro. I think it is a perfect film. And it's so hard to be
Everyone does it. It's
to
interesting.
be part of this experience from the first time we talked about it, then the crazy process of putting this together, because we had a very small amount of time, amount of money, but a lot of ideas. And we all trusted her so much because you just needed one conversation with her to understand what she was going to do with this material. Then I remember the impact of the first day that all of us were together, rehearsing for like 8 hours every day for 2 weeks. And everything was so intense and we all cared so much that I knew it could go two opposite ways, like end up killing or hating each other, or end up like making a great film together and becoming friends forever. Unfortunately, the second one happened. But it was so intense, and I remember moments that for the rest of my life will be in my memory. Like, you know, that time, like the Friday before the Monday we started shooting, where we were like actually like standing up from the table to scream and we were all agreeing and we were all like rowing in the same direction. But it's like when you feel like if your life depends on it, and you know, it's a way to speak, obviously, but we all cared so much, every single person on every department. Also, because you chose all the right people for every department, and you took so much time and care into every single detail. So it was a really, really intense and wonderful experience, and I could not be more proud. And never live for tomorrow what you can do today, and I want to use this opportunity to say thank you to you again, Olivia, because you were so generous with all of us. And it's very hard being in that position where you are directing yourself, but you're also going to be in an editing room where you are going to be obviously protecting yourself, but protecting every one of your actors and giving the movie what it needs every single second, never putting yourself first, but you needed to be first because the scene needs that you would do it, and the movie comes first. And I think it's such an act of generosity. It's the first thing I told you when I saw it. You took care of all of us. So thank you again. I know I've told you a million times, but you will hear it much more. Thank you.
Because we had the most incredible crew that you guys could imagine, and I believe some of them are here tonight. Can anyone who worked on the film please stand up? Yeah. Was that you? I thought I saw Lucas too. Oh, we had the most incredible crew. I mentioned Lucas because imagine pulling focus on this movie, right? Imagine pulling focus when people are improvising in the same frame, and Lucas being able to somehow predict who was going to throw something in, like unbelievable. And then Mark operating Steadicam. We're shooting on film, that's heavy, and being able to somehow feel, I mean, think of the Steadicam work in the scene where she's singing Sade to Seth. Beautiful work. And then Robbie, I mean, we have two Robbies, one AC and one in the art department. The props on that set, any idea the actors had, boom, it was there. They had so many ideas of like, I want to vape, I want glasses, I want Hawk with the condoms. Everybody having so many ideas, and the world felt real because it was created by a crew who believed in this as much as we did. And I can't even describe, like we would have our rehearsals, and the crew, because they were seeing it all unfold in order, they were so emotionally involved that it felt like we were performing little plays for them in rehearsal. And I've never experienced anything like that. So I can't even imagine doing anything like this ever again. It felt so singular and special, and there was like alchemy involved. There was some sort of magical thing happening. a combination of factors that were leading to a result that you can't predict. And I will say, like, this is why independent film is so important, because the studios don't allow for that unpredictability. They don't allow for risk. We didn't know how it was going to end the week before it ended. We were writing as we were shooting, and that kind of openness and fluidity and just openness. I remember when Penelope, we were already filming the movie, when she said, what if in that scene with Seth, we play Sade and I sing to him, and then he starts singing with me, and then I get him to loosen up and I get him to be in his body. That was you taking a scene that was just like seduction scene, you know, and turning it into something totally iconic and specific. And there were so many moments like that. Of course, the menopause conversation, which was entirely the brainchild of Penelope working with Rashida and being so passionate about wanting to say something specific and valuable. And that happened throughout the movie. So it was like this extraordinary lesson in the value of remaining really open to risk and trusting your team.
I cannot believe that, because I, coming to see it, having seen it, I was like, okay, I know what's going to happen, and I kept on kind of anticipating how it was all going to navigate itself. And in the beginning, I was like, oh, I see they're doing that. Oh, how interesting! You know what I mean? And then I just completely started to not know what was gonna. Because I knew they were gonna bring up sex. I knew that they were gonna make an orgy offer, but that's it. You know, and I was so fascinated by the distinct ways that were different about its original conception, and how organic and fluid, because basically here you have this thing, these four characters. There's a reason it's being translated into all of these and done in all of these different countries, because you have this foundation, right? So it's almost this double kind of like magic trick to take something that is so foundational and then kind of like make it unpredictable and re-author it in a way that isn't, well, we have to make it different, you know? No, we have to tell the truth and be true to these characters as you say, and as you've been in the edit, and generous to these characters, and then find out like how are they going to truthfully leave this invitation, you know, and where are we left, and where is the relationship left in the end? The fucking piano is brilliant. That's not in the movie.
The piano, it was so funny because we knew that everything had to feel authentic, and we knew that the audience was too smart to buy anything that felt, you know, just inauthentic in any way. So, you know, Seth would say, if I was offered an orgy with you guys, I would assume you didn't mean me. He's like, I'm sorry, that's what he said. First of all, I would assume that you guys were just planning a threesome and it was all behind my back. And he's like, and then if you said I was invited, I would take a long time to understand that. And it was all like, this is how it would feel, so let's, as opposed to forcing it into some kind of preconceived notion, it was like, let's just make it feel how it would feel. The whole kind of breakup third act of it all, you know, we had this challenge of going from one tone to another. We've been kind of a broad, very chatty comedy of errors to something much more kind of sad. And we didn't want the audience to feel duped, like, wait a minute, you switched tones on us. This is not what we wanted. And so we needed a ramp. And Edward said, I have a story I want to tell as Hawk about why my name is Hawk, which was a name he had come up with. And he said, I have a story, can you just put in the script Hawk story, and can I do it for the first time on film? And I said, how long? Because I'm paying for the film. But I was so thrilled by it. So we had 2 cameras that day, and he said, can you put the camera on you and Seth first so you guys both hear it for the first time on film. So the reactions you see from me and Seth are the first time we're hearing the story, and we are having completely different reactions. And it's so true to who we were in those characters. But it was like this gift of an emotional ramp into a different rhythm for the movie, and I think, man, without that, what would I have done? It was such a gift of the actor to say, I have an idea that will help the audience move into this other place. And it was surprising and wonderful, and then one thing flowed to the next, because then Penelope knew that when Seth reacted that way, how she would feel, and then it turned into the most extraordinary idea of Hawk and Pina are not that perfect.
Yeah, and that they don't fight in the original Spanish movie. I was really surprised by that.
They wanted to demonstrate rupture and repair, and she's like, I don't think Pina's perfect. I don't think this relationship is perfect. Let's demonstrate conflict and how that doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad relationship, but it's how you recover. So all of these things, which is like discoveries.
Yeah, which is unbelievable that the process mirrors so much of what characters go through, because it's like this incremental kind of like guarding and revelation of their vulnerabilities that like create the comedy, and it's very moving. I cried when they felt chosen for an orgy.
He cried. I was sitting next to him.
You know, and I just like, and that was so. I don't know, just so disarming, which I think is to see them, you know, experience disarmament in this way, and also find a way to kind of take these upstairs neighbors and bring them down from this mythic place where they're just instruments of you know, deconstructing this I don't know, like taking apart this trap that this couple is living in, but also be human beings that have story that you were like, well, this is how I would react if he disrespected, if he was unrespectful to my.
She's saying? That's moment. She's saying what?
That's all. That's a home run. And it's very, yeah. I'm such an idiot. I'm such a dumb cunt.
I didn't know you were an Angela.
Should I look at one question that the poor people from 824 wrote out? Although I do want to ask, like, visually, because clearly you had such a sort of like what were you drawing inspiration from? Did you know what it would look like when you read it? Is that also something that you discovered? This aesthetic that is just this delicious, I don't know, disappeared thing from film.
It was purposely nostalgic.
Of course.
It was this love letter to the movies that made us love this genre. Many of them from the 70s, and you know, we purposely went for that. It was our extraordinary cinematographer, Adam Newport-Berra, who is the best. He and Jay Healy, our production designer, who's like fucking G, because that is a hard thing to design. The three of us were like this little brain trust, and we said, how do we make a movie in one place interesting? How do we make this feel intentional and specific? How do we use architecture to create boundaries and all the things you guys definitely picked up on? It's just, you know, it was a true collaboration. I knew how I wanted it to feel, but I trusted these experts in how to achieve that and what ideas could come about. The original script, I think it was, the apartment was described as like an open floor plan, one room. And there was the idea of a window that had to go to another window. but it wasn't specific as to how or where the other window was. So Jake came up with the idea of this kind of air shaft to have this Hitchcockian voyeuristic vantage point that we could use in different moments, like in the end when you then see Angela Joe through the window. But we, discovered that, the kind of labyrinth within the apartment. Once we decided as a team that the two couples should separate and have what we call house tours, like where they go into the different rooms, it really made it clear, okay, we want to have spaces for them to be able to hide from each other, but still sort of feel the danger that they could over here. And then to be able to, of course, when they separate again, to have the almost sex, we wanted them to have privacy. But it came from these endless discussions with these amazing artists. And we wanted the actors to feel free, but the visual style to feel nailed down, like intact. So we knew our rules, but we never wanted to be overly prescriptive. It wasn't like, stand there because the shot will be cool in this frame. It was like, we know how to shoot this set no matter what they do. We know where to look and where not to look. And things like using the ceiling, it all us honoring the people who taught us how to do this, the directors like Mike Nichols, Sidney Lumet, Woody Allen, so many people, Rob Reiner. It was really,
Aww.
yes. Yeah, but it was like, if you could achieve a comedy that felt full of heart, like he did, like those guys did, then you nailed something. But it was, visually, it was so fun. It was so fun.
Yeah, it was really, really fun for us. How much time do we have?
Almost.
Wrap it up?
Wrap it up.
Okay, but who's Esther Perel?
Esther Perel, you should take this one.
Esther Perel was a consultant on this film.
Yes.
What was it like working with her to shape your characters?
We were very lucky to have her contact, and any little doubt we had, let's call Mr. And then at the end of the conversation, let's ask her personal questions. Olivia and I wanted to talk to her. We're still doing it, even if
Yes, we'll never stop.
But we were very lucky that we had her time, her trust, her wisdom. She's somebody who is so much, so out of the box. And when you think you know what she's gonna tell you, she will always shock you. And that was very important for me to create Pina from a place. I mean, for me and for all of us, we knew the danger of the ending of the movie, where finally Pina becomes more of the therapist, and she's a good therapist in life. She's there just for fun. She doesn't go there to give anybody a lecture of how to be happier. But she's almost forced into that situation where she has to share with them a few advice in the form of the right questions. She's not telling them what to do. She's asking the right question, which is what a good therapist would do, I think. So it was really important for us to get to that place in a shape that would be far away from any type of cliche, because always those characters could have that danger more than others. And I feel that the fact that we were so alert, scared about that, about the possibility of that happening, and the fact that we had the opportunity to talk to Esther so many times, especially for that third act, was really, really helpful. And now when I watch it, I feel, okay, she is a good therapist. And she is not telling them what to do. But wow, she's like, there is no way they're not gonna have that conversation after she says the thing she says.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I'm leaving, I'm not your therapist, but there is no way they're not gonna have the conversation.
It also, like, the whole concept, she's, of course, like, the preeminent expert on intimacy and long-term relationships, and she's studied this for over 20 years. And the concept of you can have more than one relationship with the same person was something we put in there because we all felt that was really relevant and actually very optimistic, and it gives you the choice. Sometimes your relationship is over and it's okay to recognize that. And sometimes you are allowed to reinvent within a relationship, but you must take responsibility for your own happiness. and you cannot blame your partner for your misery. So that is something I think we all learned from Esther, and to have her there to help us say it in the most authentic way was the dream.
Well, there's incredible messaging there, and never does it feel like you're receiving any kind of messaging. I feel like there's so many movies that really shape it into such a specific shape, so you know exactly what the fuck you're looking at. And in this, I'm watching a movie, and I'm with these characters, and I'm crying because they're being asked to have a foursome. You know what I mean? And so just, we gotta wrap it up. You guys are gangsters. That was so